Hey everyone, and welcome to another Wolfpack Wargaming video. Today we have an interesting video. I can't quite say it's going to be a lot of fun, as I have a lot of sadness kind of tied into this as well. As you can see here, I have what is now a crushed Dimachaeron, I guess you might call it. Forge World Tyranid here. Had put it together and began painting it, as you can see here. And as it was sitting out to dry one evening, one of my kitties that I have been clearly depriving of attention decided this looked like a suitable companion to cuddle next to, and when it brushed its head across it in affection, it knocked it off a series of tables, smashing against the floor and crushing my soul. But we all knew the Tyranids could never stand up to the kitties anyways. So today anyways, I'm going to be putting this thing back together, and I thought I'd make a little video of it because I'm not just gonna glue it back together. This is resin. You can see here I used some green stuff when I had assembled it originally anyways. I'm gonna be doing some sort of hobby hacks. Now again, I'm not a professional hobbyist by any means, or professional painter or anything like that, of course, but I am kind of the basement hobbyist, your sort of everyday hobby kind of person. And so some of the things that I do here, I think just about anyone could do. It might not be the most technical ways or the perfect ways you could do things, but it should get the job done and get this guy back in working order so we can finish painting him and hopefully be done well enough so that you can't quite tell that he did break. Taking a look at the Dimachaeron, you can see I've got a bunch of crap over the table here that we're going to be using some of this stuff to reassemble this guy. If you can kind of notice from the pieces here, he did generally break at the seams where he was glued together before, which is a good thing because it'll make it much easier to put him back together. There were a couple breaks that did actually break the resin in half in certain putties, and in those places I'm definitely not just going to glue or green stuff them back together. In fact, I'm going to try to pin them a little bit as well, putting a metal rod in them to secure them so that they're less breakable in the future. This is kind of a heavy model, and I don't want it to fall apart if it just gets knocked around a little bit. I do have to be more mindful of my cats in the future though. Alright, so one of the first things I want to do here is I want to reattach this leg to the Dimachaeron. I'm going to totally butcher this guy's name throughout this video, so let's just call him Bob for now. So I'm going to put Bob's leg back on, but I'm not just going to super glue it, which is what I did the first time, and quite honestly, it just it was good if it was completely secure, you know, and wasn't jostled horribly or whatnot, or how about knocked off a like 3-foot table to the ground. But I do want to actually maybe secure it just a little bit more than the super glue this time around. So what I'm going to do is 2 steps. One is I'm going to actually try to pin this leg into the body, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to drill a hole into the hip here and then one into the thigh, and then I'm going to use a little sort of metal rod to kind of join them together. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some green stuff and put that in this little hole around the rod and stick it in there. And the green stuff is going to harden to like a plastic consistency overnight, and it's just going to add another layer of security there to the thigh. So this leg should be well secure in place. So if this was to drop again, unlikely that it would actually break from the seam here, but probably somewhere else. So anyways, we'll go ahead and I'll time lapse that. Alright, so you can see Bob's leg is back in. We put the pin in there. We also used some green stuff and it stuck it down pretty nicely. I did some adjustments just to make sure that the legs were level so that they'll be flat when they get on the base. But now we just use some rice, which is we're gonna rest it, ice it. Okay, not really ice it, but anyways, it's just gonna rest overnight and that green stuff is gonna seal. So then tomorrow we can pick it up and we should be able to move on to the next steps, which will be to go ahead and put those arms on. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and make one more fix to one of the arms that broke down the middle. So we're going to use the same technique to put those 2 pieces together, and again we're going to let them sit overnight. So let's check it out. All right, and you can see here, that is how we fix a broken arm with green stuff and with paper clips. So we're gonna let this sit overnight as well, let it harden up, and then we'll assemble it back to the actual model there. So before we're done for today anyways, I also went ahead and fixed up these claws, and on both of them the back ends broke, and so I went ahead and just added just a little green stuff, so I didn't pin them or anything, just some green stuff to get those secured back on. Again, I'm using green stuff instead of super glue because I think it adds a little bit more adhesion. It kind of makes the model makes it a little bit more secure. Anyways, we'll go ahead and see how that works out, and then tomorrow we'll be able to probably reassemble the whole thing, although it's going to take a whole nother day to let all the green stuff dry up. All right, here we are at day 2, and as you can see, our green stuff has hardened, and leg is now secure. We also waited overnight to secure these claws back to both the hands there. They had broken off. The arm, which was a big one, we pinned the arm, and we also used some green stuff at the joint there to secure it. And it feels good now. It's hopefully going to stay secure. Of course, what we're going to have to do after all this is I'm going to have to paint back over all the green stuff there. We'll hit it with white and then hit it with the sepia there so that it matches the rest of the skin. Ideally, what will happen is that you won't be able to tell it from the rest of the skin, and it won't be just totally stand out as, oh yeah, it was repaired right there. So anyways, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna have to use a little more green stuff. We're gonna be using some green stuff and maybe doing some pinning to put the arms back on the side of the body there. And then once that's all done, that's pretty much it. And then we'll just glue it back to the base. Before I had green stuffed it, but that was largely because the resin at the feet was not super flat. And so I knew if I had super glued it to the base with just the resin, it wouldn't be really secure. But the green stuff from before, as you can see, it's all flat there now. So I feel a little bit better about just maybe using some super glue, sticking it back to the base, should be fine. So anyways, let's do some of our last repairs. And there we go. We've put Bob back together here. So as you could see, we did use some green stuff as well as some pinning to get those limbs back in place. I also did some super glue on the feet as well as a little bit more green stuff to get this guy stuck to the base. When I put the leg back on, it wasn't quite even, so I did have to throw some green stuff under there to even it out so it would get his foot fully on the base. And of course, this will all get covered up when I do the actual basing of the model. But Bob is ready to get back on the battlefield. We just need to finish painting him up. Next time, we'll just be careful about leaving him out at night, because you always got to be careful for those silent kitty kaiju.